I'll start with this one picture. It's me in the pink surgical glasses on a surgical volunteer mission in Nicaragua. And I was invited to be part of the team. It's almost 10 years ago now, by through my work embedded at the hospital at Mount Sinai West St. Luke's, through working at Integra Life Sciences as a clinical educator within their regenerative technologies portfolio. uh, it was a moment for me where I realized that great engineers can make great innovations, but that the path to actually translating innovation to patients represents the majority of a product's effort and success. Because if it can get to clearance, but it can't get to the person who needs it most, a lot of the innovation energy can be wasted. And so that was just about 4 years after I graduated from Tufts. And there's no ignoring that, an engineering degree or any type of engineering science studies tell you that fundamentals are very, very important, that you can't take shortcuts to great innovation. But when I was hired for my first job at Tissue Engineering Inc., which is a small company in South Boston that was building what we called the fanciest leather in the world, so a medical device made from fetal bovine skin. Um, they hired me to take really, really fancy pictures of their medical device integrating into the human body to differentiate it from the other collagen matrices that were available on the market. And when I was done with my first mission, I was put on tour with the sales team as an engineer, communicating the value of that medical device to surgeons and customers, patients, hospital systems, sometimes insurance companies. Um, Trying to show them that what we were developing was worth them adopting it into their facilities practice or coverage pipeline. And I quickly learned that incremental improvements or just storytelling is not enough, and that preclinical work is just the first step in a value proposition that needs to be deeply developed in order to incite change for disruption and innovation. And TEI was very effective at meeting some of those challenges. The CEO at the time had planned for this. It's not something that you can react to last minute once you're on the market. You need to have things developing from the very beginning. And a few years later, we were bought by Integra Life Sciences, and I was shuttled into a tremendously big regenerative tissue portfolio. It was like a candy shop for a biomedical engineer. And still focused my career on clinical education. And that's a point where I became a customer obsessed engineer, not yet turned marketer. But I realized that at Integra, there was different divisions within a company, orthopedics, neuro, soft tissues, and different sales forces within a company. But when you looked at our end customers and our surgeons, take an orthopedic surgeon, for example, they had multiple reps calling on them and multiple products being sold from different people within the same company because the industry pipeline didn't true or structure didn't truly represent what the customer was doing every day. So that alignment and knowing that every market plays by different rules was also a very important revelation. When I left Integra and went to Conformis, it was my first exposure to 3D manufacturing. Conformis, who was bought, I think it was 2023 by Restore 3D, was one of the first innovating on patient-specific implants. They were building restorative patient PSI for total joints and surgery guides associated with those. And I think maybe Monica had said it that. That was a place where I learned that field information is very hard to operationalize. When you had to have surgeon approvals of your design requirements and MRIs collected from the space and deliver implants in fast enough timeframes to meet um, surgery deadlines, things that are off the shelf sometimes can beat in terms of ease of use. I think then that message will and that lesson will stay with me for a long time. I joined Tissium back into the soft tissue space shortly after. Uh, Having all of this insight, we were able to really develop a playbook. Tissium hired me, I think it was 5 or 6 years before they were going commercial, and I think it shows planning early is really a very smart thing to do, and understanding all of the pillars of successful MedTech translation and incorporating them into your product development pipeline. I saw Estelle Collins on the on the audience. So shout out to Estelle. She was one of the engineers that led the development of the Tisium technology. But we were there and we basically used our playbook to plan early, engage KOLs and surgeons in that development cycle, and build the studies that are needed to successfully launch. They just gained clearance of their nerve coaptation device, which is a 3D printed biosynthetic scaffold, in June of 2025, I think it was. But anyways, so after Tisium, I was approached by David Kaplan, my PhD advisor, who had been working for a number of years with Glenn Leong and Vincent Fitzpatrick, my co-founders at Materialize Bio. And they were very frustrated with their ability to bioprint silk or to build silk into a complex 3D structure. And I left Tisium because they had discovered a new manufacturing approach that we have applied to many different biopolymers that struggle with meltability and with biosolidification, as well as trade-offs between viscosity or viscous inks as well as end implant strength. And I left Tisium with a carve out, with a job at Brixton Biosciences, actually, with a carve out for Materialize. And we worked for a year or two on building the story for Materialize Bio based on all of this entire recipe for reaching patients. So looking at what types of products could we build from this new manufacturing? What type of capabilities could we unlock? And what type of resources was it going to take for each one, in terms of creation of a body of evidence? What types of surgeon personalities, innovation, receptiveness to new products do different surgeon specialties have? And how could we pick a problem that we could address with biopolymer technology or natural biopolymer technology, where we could hit on all of these important ingredients for the recipe for an innovation reaching patient success. And so in 2023, we founded Materialize Bio, but it was just about a year and a half later that we transitioned in the entire team to work on some of the first assets that I'll share with you today, that we're building from this platform.